what it tells me about him and what we know so far is that he had a fascination with crime, with murder. And, it was really obvious just by that trajectory that he took.
They are classified as people with little or no conscience, but they're able to follow social conventions when it suits their needs.
I just read an account by somebody who knew him that said that he was really, really passionate about what he did. And so I think, again, this was sort of the gateway for him to explore his own violent fantasies.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. More stuff, and I think it's going to be like this with this new judge. Please subscribe. I can't get to 40,000 subscribers without your help. Bryan Kohberger dropped from high school police course after a complaint. So he was... This, I think, is, very interesting. So it makes me wonder if his mom was a special needs teacher, and nobody wants their child to be diagnosed with oppositional defiance disorder. And I'm just wondering if he received an autistic diagnosis, because the lack of empathy, but for autism, people with autism do feel empathy. They just have difficulty expressing it. They have difficulty showing it. Whereas people with psychopathy or sociopathy have no empathy. But this is an interview that was done with Tanya Carmela Beers. And it was a really quote. It's being characterized by the Idaho Statesman as a pretty serious, and an interview with the Idaho M podcast. I'm watching my words here in case you have little ones in the room. She declined to elaborate because of the federal family education rights and privacy protections. But the investigation led to Bryan Kohberger's removal his sophomore year from a law enforcement focus at Monroe Career and Technical Institute. That's his high school. So she confirmed this to the Idaho Statesman. She oversaw the technical school. This was his high school's mental health and discipline. And she reiterated that she could not divulge details of the incident, but there was an incident. And she said it was not medication related or alcohol related, not violent in any way. She declined to identify the number of people involved, but said the complaint about Kohberger was not filed by a group of individuals. So the podcast reported that the complaint involved female students, and then BK switched to the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning program at the half-day technical school for his junior year. And my understanding is that he completed those online, not in person. So he switched to online education and didn't finish out his high school education in the classroom. In February, Carmela Beers declined to tell the Idaho Statements about her specific interactions with BK, who was 28 at the time. Instead, she spoke about their general circumstances that could lead to students being removed against their preference from the technical school's law enforcement project, which has now heightened its requirements. So she's being very careful. She doesn't want to get sued. She said, ultimately, what had him removed from the program, when I look back on it, makes sense. And she said, in light of the allegations, not knowing what I know, then you be like, I can't, I'm so shocked. And in that respect, I am. So she's saying she is shocked. But then, I know another little piece, which is that piece that occurred at the school. So then I'm like, that makes sense. So what she's talking about is she's talking about the crimes that he committed. And she said, if she didn't know what she knew about BK, she would have been shocked. But in light of the information that she has from his high school, she said it makes sense. So we've all seen this picture, of Bryan Kohberger in his high school at Pleasant Valley. That's his yearbook from his sophomore year, wearing a police-like uniform, doing push-ups. So he was still enrolled in the law enforcement program in his sophomore year, and his goal was to become an Army Ranger, according to the photo's caption. But then his primary interest was law enforcement, according to his former friend, Thomas Arntz. After being dropped from the law enforcement focus and a year in the HVAC program, BK chose not to attend the technical high school for his senior year. This is according, again, to Carmela Beers, what she told the podcast. He instead completed his diploma requirements through Pleasant Valley's online program, telling Arndt's sister, Casey Arndt's, in March of 2013, this is what Bryan Kohberger told her, that he finished high school early. But Carmela Beers recalls that pursuing law enforcement was BK's dream and that he stood out as a, quote, exceptional applicant for the highly competitive program. She said he appeared to be the total package. He was, Carmela Beers says. Other than that incident, Bryan was a strong student, performed very well, and he took his program very seriously. His uniform was immaculate every day. Everything about him was perfect, so to speak. So she acknowledged that her podcast interview had the impact of getting kicked out of the program. She said, quote, "The real reason I remember his application was because of the way the guidance counselor really played it up on how it was all he wanted. So my feeling was that he was defeated, because it's the only thing he ever wanted in his life. And now you have it. And now that's falling through." So let's talk about the school complaint. So there were signs, and I talked to you guys about his sisters both going into the mental health field. So it is possible that around this time his mother took him in. His mother was a special needs teacher and, had him see a therapist, and maybe the therapist, because he wasn't showing empathy, conflated that with autism, or maybe he actually is autistic. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you believe that Bryan Kohberger is autistic? If you think he is autistic, put yes, he's autistic. If you think he is not autistic, say no, I do not think he's autistic. But this is what I think may have happened. This is speculation warning here. But let's talk about what school complaint led to an investigation. Okay, so there were early warning signs, according to Carmela Beers. So BK joined the law enforcement program at the county's technical program. There were some circumstances that led us to believe that maybe there were going to be some difficulties in Bryan's life that weren't going to, she kind of pauses there, contribute to him having an easy time of it. She said, it wasn't going to be just ending up in the police academy kind of thing for him. It was going to be a little bit more of a challenge for him to get there. And she describes the complaint that was made as a teacher bringing it to Carmela Beers' attention that leading an investigation of the incident. So we don't know what the incident exactly is, but we got some clues here. BK and other students were interviewed in the process, and she said that a decision was made about his future in law enforcement. And she said, quote, "whether it's the decision the student wants or not." So I think he was removed from the program. Let me know what you think. She said, "I don't think that maybe he necessarily grasped the depth and breadth of the issue at hand. So I think there was frustration as to not really understanding. I don't understand what the problem is. This is not a big deal." Or, quote, "this didn't happen," or "it was just like seriously," kind of thing. High school is also where BK began using medication H, and the Arnezes, another former friend, Jack Bilas, previously told the Idaho Statesman in interviews. Addiction issues eventually led to BK being put in medication rehab. So at any point in all of this, he could have been diagnosed as having autism. For ABC's report, BK had no known criminal record leading up to his December arrest. However, we do know that there was something, because according to court records obtained by ABC, BK allegedly stole his older sister's cell phone and sold it at a local mall. So he did. This is why I'm wondering if he did not get admitted into the police academy, or get that job that he applied for at the Pullman Police. Sorry, not Police Academy, Pullman Police Department. He didn't get that job. He wanted to teach them how to use technology to catch criminals. And I'm just wondering if this, came up. The other thing I was kind of wondering about was why he was getting a felony burglary charge. And I thought maybe it was related to him having taken something from the crime scene. But what I found out is if you break into a residence and you commit any kind of felony, then the burglary charge applies. So I just wanted to share that with you as well. What do you guys think? Please subscribe. I can't get to 40,000 subscribers without you. And give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you let me know how you feel about all of this in the comment section below. Thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me, and I will see you next time.